Hey there, welcome to our video on the erasure of Black history in American education. We're glad you're here to join us for this important discussion. It's no secret that Black history has been largely ignored in our education system. While efforts have been made to include Black history in curriculums, it's still not given the attention it deserves. Many textbooks only briefly touch on Black history, often reducing it to a few paragraphs or even a single page. This erasure of Black history in education perpetuates systemic racism by reinforcing the idea that Black history isn't important. But why is Black history so important? For starters, it's an essential part of American history and culture. The contributions of Black Americans have shaped our country in significant ways, from music and art to science and technology. Ignoring this history only perpetuates systemic racism and inequality. We can't move forward as a country without acknowledging our past and learning from it. The erasure of Black history in American education has far-reaching consequences. For Black students, the lack of representation in the classroom can be incredibly disheartening. When they don't see themselves reflected in the curriculum, it can lead to feelings of alienation and disconnection from their education. But it's not just Black students who suffer from the erasure of Black history. All students are denied the opportunity to learn about the contributions of Black Americans to our country's history and culture. This creates a distorted view of American history that reinforces harmful stereotypes and perpetuates systemic racism. In this video, we're going to dive into the erasure of Black history in American education. We'll explore how this erasure came about, why it's problematic, and what we can do to change it. We'll also try to keep things light and fun because, let's face it, history can be a bit of a snooze fest. So sit back, relax, and let's talk about Black history. All right, folks, let's get into the nitty-gritty of why Black history has been erased from American education. It all goes back to the days of yore, or as some of you might call it, the late 1800s and early 1900s. Back then, white Americans were eager to establish their own national identity. They wanted to create a narrative of American history that centered on the achievements of white men. So what did they do? They left out the stories and contributions of non-white and non-male individuals. It's kind of like when your mom puts your little brother's art on the fridge and forgets about yours. Except in this case, the art is Black history, and it's not just being overlooked, it's being actively excluded. Not cool, America. Not cool. This erasure of Black history was especially prevalent in the South, where segregation was enforced by law. African American schools had limited funding and resources and were often overlooked in favor of white schools. So not only was Black history being left out of the mainstream curriculum, but it was also being left out of Black schools. Double whammy. Fast forward to the mid-20th century, and the civil rights movement brought attention to the erasure of Black history. Black educators and activists pushed for Black history to be included in school curriculums. And while Black History Month was established in 1976, it's only a month out of the year. The rest of the time, Black history is still largely ignored. But why is this erasure such a big deal? Well, for starters, it perpetuates systemic racism by reinforcing the idea that Black history isn't important. By leaving out the stories and contributions of Black Americans, we're perpetuating the notion that they're somehow less important than their white counterparts. And that's just not true. Black Americans have made significant contributions to our country in areas like music, art, science, technology, and civil rights. Ignoring these contributions only serves to reinforce harmful stereotypes and perpetuate inequality. It's kind of like when you're at a party and everyone's talking about how awesome the guy who brought the keg is, but they don't even acknowledge the girl who made the amazing guacamole. Sure, the keg is great and all, but that guacamole is the real MVP. And in the same way, Black history is the guacamole of American history. It's just as important, if not more so, than the achievements of white men. And it's not just a matter of representation either. The erasure of Black history also means that we're missing out on a fuller understanding of our country's past. We don't learn about the Black individuals who fought for civil rights, the Black scientists who made groundbreaking discoveries, or the Black artists who shaped our cultural landscape. By ignoring Black history, we're missing out on a critical component of our national identity. All right, folks, we've talked about the historical context of Black history erasure in American education. Now it's time to dive into the impact of that erasure. And let me tell you, it's not pretty. For Black students, the lack of representation in the classroom can be incredibly disheartening. Imagine being in a history class and seeing nothing but white faces on the screen. It's like going to a Justin Bieber concert and only hearing him sing Baby on repeat. Sure, it's a good song, but you want to hear some of his other stuff too. But it's not just about seeing yourself reflected in the curriculum. It's about feeling like your history and your contributions are just as important as everyone else's. When Black history is left out of the curriculum, it sends a message to Black students that their stories and achievements don't matter. And that's just not true. It's kind of like when you're at a party and everyone's talking about how amazing their accomplishments are, but you feel like you have nothing to contribute. It's like you're invisible. And that's what Black students can feel like when their history is erased from the classroom. But it's not just Black students who suffer from the erasure of Black history. All students are denied the opportunity to learn about the contributions of Black Americans to our country's history and culture. This creates a distorted view of American history that reinforces harmful stereotypes and perpetuates systemic racism. It's like going on a first date and realizing halfway through that the person you're with is a total narcissist. They only talk about themselves and their accomplishments and never bother to ask about yours. It's like they think they're the only one who matters. And that's what happens when Black history is left out of the curriculum. It creates a distorted view of American history that reinforces the idea that only the achievements of white men matter. But it's not just about distorted views. The erasure of Black history also has real-world consequences. It perpetuates systemic racism by reinforcing the idea that Black Americans are somehow less important than their white counterparts. It's like going to a job interview and realizing that the interviewer only cares about your race, not your qualifications. It's like they think you're not good enough just because of the color of your skin. And this isn't just speculation. Studies have shown that the lack of representation in the classroom can have a negative impact on the academic achievement of Black students. When they don't see themselves reflected in the curriculum, it can lead to feelings of alienation and disconnection from their education, and that can have lasting consequences. But it's not just about academic achievement. The erasure of Black history also means that we're missing out on a fuller understanding of our country's past. We don't learn about the Black individuals who fought for civil rights, the Black scientists who made groundbreaking discoveries, or the Black artists who shaped our cultural landscape. By ignoring Black history, we're missing out on a critical component of our national identity. It's like going on a road trip and only seeing the big tourist attractions. You might see the Grand Canyon and the Statue of Liberty, but you're missing out on all the little towns and quirky roadside attractions along the way. Those are the things that make the trip memorable. And in the same way, Black history is the quirky roadside attraction of American history. It's the little things that make our country unique. All right, folks, we've talked about the historical context and impact of Black history erasure in American education. Now it's time to explore what we can do to address this issue. And let me tell you, there's a lot we can do. First and foremost, we need to make sure that Black history is incorporated into school curriculums year-round, not just during Black History Month. It's like when your mom only makes your favorite meal on your birthday. Yeah, it's great, but you want to eat it more than once a year. By incorporating Black history into curriculums year-round, we can ensure that all students have the opportunity to learn about the contributions of Black Americans to our country's history and culture. But it's not just about what's in the curriculum. We also need to focus on diversifying textbooks and curricula. It's like when your playlist is full of the same songs over and over again. Yeah, they're good songs, but you want some variety. By diversifying textbooks and curricula, we can make sure that all students are exposed to a variety of perspectives and histories. We also need to hire more Black educators. It's like when you're at a party and you're the only one who looks like you. It can be uncomfortable and isolating. By hiring more Black educators, we can ensure that Black students have role models and mentors who understand their experiences. And let's not forget about the importance of creating programs that highlight Black history and culture. It's like when you're at a party and someone puts on your favorite song. Suddenly you're having a great time. By creating programs that highlight Black history and culture, we can engage students and make learning about Black history fun and exciting. But it's not just about what we do in the classroom. We also need to recognize the importance of Black history in our broader society. It's like when you're at a family gathering and your uncle makes a racist joke. It's not just offensive, it's harmful. By recognizing the importance of Black history in our broader society, we can work towards a more just and equitable future. And it's not just up to educators and administrators to address the erasure of Black history. We all have a role to play. It's like when you're at a potluck and someone shows up with store-bought cookies. Sure, they're still cookies, but they're not the same as homemade ones. By learning about Black history on our own and sharing that knowledge with others, we can all work towards a more inclusive and equitable society. All right, folks, that's a wrap on our discussion about the erasure of Black history in American education. We've explored the historical context, the impact of erasure, and ways to address the issue, but our work is far from done. We all have a responsibility to ensure that Black history is given the attention and respect it deserves. Whether you're a student, educator, or just someone who cares about social justice, there's something you can do to make a difference. So let's keep the conversation going. Let's continue to learn about and celebrate Black history, not just during Black History Month, but all year round. Let's demand that our schools and textbooks reflect the diversity of our country's history and culture. And let's recognize the importance of Black history in shaping our national identity. And while you're at it, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. We'll be bringing you more discussions and insights on important social justice issues, with a touch of humor, of course. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.